Your Excellency Ambassador James Soni, Acting Dean of the African Ambassadors and Ambassador of the Republic of Rwanda, Your Excellencies, all African ambassadors here present, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. We wish to thank you for coming at short notice to this briefing, which is aimed at informing you of the government of Zimbabwe's position regarding the recent recalls of some members of parliament from a certain political party in terms of our laws. Your Excellencies, Zimbabwe is a constitutional democracy. True to the dictates of the Constitution, Zimbabwe holds free and fair elections regularly after every 5 years. The most recent harmonized elections were held on 23 and 24 August 2023. The next harmonized elections will be held in 2028. The Constitution of Zimbabwe does not expressly provide for a government of national unity, or a GNU, or any election run by external institutions. The Zimbabwe Electoral Commission is the only lawful body mandated to run our elections. Your Excellencies, please allow me to restate what you already know, which is that Zimbabwe has 3 pillars of state, which is the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. The government of the Republic of Zimbabwe respects the separation of powers as dictated by the Constitution. It is therefore important to note that Parliament has power to resolve any matter or dispute that might arise. Government takes note of statements from the political outfit whose members were recalled from Parliament. The unfounded aspersions and outright falsehoods seeking to embroil government and the ruling ZANU-PF party in the recall process are without merit. For the avoidance of doubt and for the benefit of those unfamiliar with Zimbabwean laws, in terms of Section 129, subsection 1K of the Zimbabwe Constitution, recalls of members of Parliament are done by the political party to which the affected member belongs, by way of written notice to the Speaker of the National Assembly or a President of Senate, and not by government. Against that background, it is incorrect and downright deceit for any political formation, for that matter, so affected by recalls to blame it on the other. Simply, no other party enjoys such a standing or a mandate over the other on matters of recall. Zimbabwean law enjoins the Speaker of the National Assembly and the President of the Senate as presiding officers to promptly act on any and all communication from political formations brought before them with a view to effecting a recall. Neither official can or may cause, amend, or block any such communication once placed before them. Again, it is downright false to impute responsibility for any recalls on the 2 presiding officers, or even to suggest that they have the remit to withdraw any such communication. Only authors of such communication can cause a reversal. Where a political party in opposition and represented in Parliament of its own volition decides to remove itself, whether temporarily or permanently, from processes of the legislature, no constitutional crisis arises. No constitutional crisis of any kind, therefore, arises, and I repeat. Parties or individuals reserve the right to participate or otherwise in national political processes. Zimbabwe has no law that compels participation by persons or organizations. While it is considered that there is no law that compels political parties to have bona fide constitutions, structures, and a democratically elected leadership. The absence of such instruments creates room for confusion and conflict, with no available instruments and mechanisms for dispute resolution. No amount of scapegoating can cure that. It therefore comes as a surprise that formations claiming to be democratic and enjoying all-round support, may it be political, may it be financial, may it be diplomatic, may it be organizational, from external forces, seek to blame others for their own failures. Your Excellencies, it is on record that the opposition in Zimbabwe in its various manifestations has never accepted election results except in those pockets in which they win, ironically from the same electoral process. Even after the interposition of the courts at its instance, the opposition routinely rejects any outcomes other than those in which they are declared winners. It is a matter of public record that one presidential candidate in the just ended harmonized general elections declared well ahead of the polls and brazenly in the presence of election observers and the media that the candidate would not abide by any other result except one which pronounced the candidate as the sole winner. Indeed, this was the second such incident in which the candidate made such a declaration. Sadly, violence ensued after such a declaration in 2018. This type of conduct is an attack on our democracy, constitutionalism, and the rule of law. Regrettably, some countries have tended to support this undemocratic conduct. As in previous instances, government will not tolerate any actions aimed at disturbing the peace under the guise of democratic political processes. Your Excellencies, Zimbabwe's body politique provides for dialogue at all levels in Parliament, before, during, and after elections. This spirit of dialogue crystallized into the political actors' dialogue, or commonly called POLAD, at which all contesting parties and personalities meet regularly to engage in the national interest. This facility, which is meant to engender collaborative politics for national development, continues to be snubbed by one party and one player. In an attempt to dignify their falsehoods, the opposition claims that Zimbabwe has political prisoners. Government wishes to state categorically that there are no political prisoners in Zimbabwe. The opposition also claims that its supporters are being harassed, intimidated, and persecuted. This is patently untrue and meant to cover up for their violent acts witnessed in Midlands and in Manicaland provinces in the just ended general elections and local by-elections. The Constitution of Zimbabwe clearly stipulates that all are equal before the law and that nobody is above the law. Government condemns politicization of such criminality. Overall, Your Excellencies, it is not a coincidence that Zimbabwe is under attack less than 2 weeks before we observe the Sanctions Day. The anti-sanctions campaign has been echoed at continental level by the African Union on many occasions and at various summits and other international fora. Government notes a concerted effort by actors sympathetic to those who imposed unilateral sanctions to undermine this important crusade. Zimbabwe reiterates its call for the immediate and unconditional removal of these heinous sanctions. Allow me, Your Excellencies, to take this opportunity to reiterate the government of Zimbabwe's profound gratitude to the African Union for its continued solidarity and support in calling for the immediate and unconditional removal of the illegal sanctions. Excellencies, allow me to conclude by highlighting that the government of Zimbabwe has always urged the Zimbabweans to continue to uphold peace by shunning violence and to continue to work towards the attainment of Vision 2030. We wish you a very good afternoon. Asante sana. Merci beaucoup. Muito obrigado. Siyabonga. I thank you.